Hello, it's Graham Macaloney here, your master whisky maker at Macaloney's Island Distillery. For this session, we're going to talk about the traditions and secrets of how we do the double distillation for single malt whisky here at Macaloney's. So when we bring over the wash from the fermentation, right, it's at about 8% alcohol. And we charge the entire wash into the wash still. So all 5,000 litres go into this 5,500 litre Forsyth wash still. Hand hammered. This was hand fabricated in Speyside by the famous family Forsyths of Scotland. Okay, the best equipment the money can buy. So you got an 8% wash in here. Now that's come over, it's just like a beer in many ways. It's come over, it's full of carbon dioxide, right? The carbonation, it's got dead yeast in it. It's got the alcohol, it's got the flavours that we built up in the fermentation. And when we start to bring the steam on to bring this to the boil, you're going to create a foam. And foam is very sour and bitter. So you don't want the foam going up the neck and over the line arm, and you have to control the foam. And the way that we do that is we dial back the steam at the beginning. And there's a little steam vial here. It just controls how much steam is going into the pot still, into the wash still. And you'll notice there's a window halfway up the neck there. And the operator watches that window, and if the foam comes up, he slows the steam down. Or she, right? We have female distillers here too. So that window is critical on the wash still. It lets you see the foam coming up, slow the steam down, foam drops. Eventually, all the carbonation has left the wash, and now you can turn the steam back up and you can really get into the distilling proper. When you're distilling, you're removing all of the alcohol right down to 0.2% left in the vapor phase. Hardly any left, 2% left in the vapor phase. We've removed all of the alcohol, and the good flavors come as vapors up the neck, along the line arm, down into the condenser, okay? And all we're leaving behind is water. Now, when those vapors and flavors, alcohol get into the condenser, this is full of cold water pipes. And this then turns the vapors back into liquid, what we call the low wines. And that low wines will come out of the condenser through the pipework into this side of the spirit safe. And it's coming off 28%. So it went in at 8%. And by the time we've distilled all the alcohol off, it's gotten up to about 28% alcohol. Now we collect the low wines until we're ready to go forward with the second spirit distillation. So when we're ready to do the spirit distillation, this spirit still, same size as Macallan's spirit still, so it's 3,650 litres. We charge in the low wines, 28-30% alcohol, but we also charge in the old foreshots and feints from the last batch. So now you're up close to 40% alcohol with the low wines and the foreshots and feints all added together. You bring this to the boil, turn on the steam, bring it up to the boil. No window in the neck because all the foam was left behind. So we can just fire this as fast as we would like. Secret is that we don't fire too fast. We fire it nice and slowly, right? We only put a small amount of steam on because we want those vapors to rise very slowly. The importance of the copper contact we'll talk about in the next video, but it's a nice slow distillation, very patient distillation. Up the neck, over the line arm, through the condenser. And by the way, here's a secret. Not every distillery will tell you this. Notice the copper colour of the condenser and the bronze colour of the copper pot still. That pot still used to be copper coloured until the heat got onto the pot. And when the heat got onto that pot, it turned darker bronze from the original copper colour. It's the lacquer, right? The lacquer paint on the copper is darkening with heat. This never darkened. This has never been hot. That's the secret of a great whiskey distillery. If this condenser stays cool all the time, you will get a nice, cool, smooth spirit. instead of a hot burning spirit. So it's important that the condensers never change colour, and that's a sign of a good distillery. Now, as the spirit is coming off, for a single malt distillery, a single malt run, it'll start coming off about 79% is the initial alcohol coming off. It's about 79%. And it drops and drops and drops, okay? And if you were a typical Scotch distillery, you would keep harvesting the spirit until it drops from 79% down to about 65% alcohol. That would be considered a middle cut. If you're on Islay, you do a wide cut. And a wide cut means you would keep collecting the spirit from 79 past 65 all the way down to 60% or even 58% is what the Islay distilleries do. They do a wide cut with a heavier spirit. If you're Macallan, who claim to do the narrowest cut in the entire Scotch industry, you do the narrowest cut. So Macallan might come on, like us, say 79%, but Macallan stop at 69%. Not at 65, not 60, 69%. So they're collecting just a little bit of the fruity floral flavours and leaving the heavy stuff behind. Macaloney's, according to Dr. Jim Swan, our famous Scotch consultant that came out here to Canada to help us fire this up, he said that Macaloney's cut is the narrowest cut in the entire Scotch industry. So what that's telling you is we're collecting only the best, fruitiest, floral volatiles or esters, technically is the term, to make the best new make spirit. So here's the spirit safe, and if you're able to zoom in on this, what you'll see is that at the beginning, the chute will be in this position here, right? For about the first 8 or 10 minutes, we're not collecting the alcohol, we're sending it to recycle. We're just cleaning out that pipe work, right? For the first 8 or 10 minutes. Then we do the cut. Now we're collecting the hearts, right, of the spirit. New make. In Scotland, we call it the clearach. And clearach sounds just like the English word, clear, because this new make spirit is clear like water. No colour in it whatsoever. All of the colour in our whiskey comes from the oak casks. So this clearach we're collecting is clear like water, but it's jam-packed with fruity and floral flavours and some big juicy malty flavours. And we collect that for several hours until we're finished doing the narrowest cut in the entire Scotch industry, according to Jim Swan. Then we switch back, okay? And then the rest of the distillation goes to faints. The faints are the heavier flavours that didn't boil off quickly. Could be big leather notes, tobacco notes, maybe some greasy oils, heavy oils. We don't want them in our beautiful refined spirit. So we send that to the faints receiver for recycle. We send it to recycle because it still has a lot of important alcohol in it, right? And so we collect the faints together with the 4 shots. And like I said earlier, they will get recycled into the next batch that comes along. So again, Macaloney's, we're really taking the best practices of Scotch whisky making, thanks to Jim Swan. And we're practicing them here in Victoria, Canada. And what we're accomplishing is a very slow, patient distillation, the narrowest cut in the entire Scotch industry, to really jam in those fruity, floral volatiles, if you will, right? The esters into the whiskey that you experience when you try Macaloney's whiskies. So with that said, thank you very much indeed, and I really hope that you enjoy our whiskies. Cheers.